Welcome to What's Trending, your go-to podcast for staying informed about what's trending in the ever-evolving landscape of Westchester and beyond. We are your hosts, Amanda DePalma, Senior Vice President of Events and Development, and Dr. Marsha Gordon, President and CEO of the Business Council of Westchester.
Today we are honored to have with us two real estate experts, Lynda Fernandez, CEO of the Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors, and Liz Nunan, President and CEO of Houlihan Lawrence. Thank you for joining us, Lynda and Liz.
Thank you.
And a special thank you to Thompson & Bender for their support as the sponsor of the What's Trending podcast. Looking for unparalleled success in PR and marketing? Look no further than Thompson & Bender, the leader in strategic communications. With over 30 years of expertise, they've mastered everything from PR and advertising to social media and event marketing, ensuring their clients' success. Recognized with awards like the Business Council of Westchester Hall of Fame, City and State Power 100, and voted Best in Westchester for advertising, public relations, and social media by 914 Inc., their track record speaks for itself. Join the ranks of clients from Fortune 500 corporations, small businesses, educational and healthcare institutions, and many more who've benefited from their innovative strategies. Trust Thompson & Bender to elevate your brand to new heights.
So before we officially begin and really dig into what's trending in real estate, would you both mind telling the audience a little bit about your organizations and your roles there? So Lynda, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So I am the CEO for the Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors, and I am honored to represent 13,000 members, residential, commercial, and represent the Westchester County, Putnam, Rockland, the Bronx. We also have jurisdiction in Manhattan and Orange County as well.
And Liz?
Sure. I lead Houlihan Lawrence, which is a real estate brokerage throughout Westchester, Putnam, and Dutchess counties of New York. Additionally, Columbia County, I keep forgetting we just opened an office there this year. And then also Fairfield County, Connecticut. We have about 1,400 agents throughout that region. And I oversee all aspects of our residential and commercial operations.
Love seeing two women entrepreneurs and CEOs leading your formidable and great organizations.
Nothing short of powerhouses, am I right? So speaking of houses, let's talk about the current state of real estate. Are we buyers market, sellers market, somewhere in between? Let's talk about everything. Liz, we'll kick it off to you first.
I think it's still a seller's market. We're slowly starting to see inventory creeping up, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's still primarily a seller's market. But there's still so much demand out there for buyers. Buyers are still out there hunting, and so it's definitely still a seller's market.
Lynda, anything to add there too?
Yes, so to echo what Liz said, even as we see inventory increase, the months of demand, which really highlights the relationship between supply and demand, are so low, historically low, and that's what is making it so difficult for some buyers to enter the market. There's just not enough supply, and that's what's driving up prices.
Yeah, it all started with COVID and the surge for buying up everything that was languishing on the inventory at that point in time, and we're starting to see an uptick in inventory for sure.
So that was going to lead a little bit into my next question in terms of trends and trends you're both specifically seeing in and around Westchester County. Lynda?
So I just pulled the report for September for our market stats in Westchester, and we are seeing an uptick in pending sales. That's a lagging indicator, and that is showing that demand is increasing year over year for this month, which is a good sign. But again, until the inventory and the supply catches up, we will still continue to see more demand than supply and higher prices.
Yeah, I would say prices are continuing to climb as well. The median sales price reached $999,000, which was an 8% increase from last year. And the average sales price rose 7% to approximately $1.3 million in Westchester County.
Maybe I should sell my house.
No, Amanda.
I'll move into the office. It'll be fine.
But it's really interesting because we do live in a Hudson Valley region, and there are marked differences. By the way, Liz, I was in Columbia County last week and saw some of your signs, so congratulations. So can you talk, since you both represent the entire Hudson Valley, can you talk about what we're seeing in other parts of the valley? Is that market behaving differently? Why don't we start with you, Liz?
Yeah, Putnam County is experiencing similar trends to Westchester County, with both inventory and prices on the rise due to this sustained demand that we're seeing. And in Dutchess County, it's sort of the same story. Inventory remains constrained, again, with home sales and prices still increasing, which just goes to show you that there's still a lot of buyer interest.
Yeah, it's really something that's been happening all over the country, where there isn't, the housing starts, the building had declined for years, and then the pandemic was exacerbated that trend, and so now it continues. I think the only area where I see a little more supply is the Bronx.
Well, that's interesting that's where it's primarily hitting. There's obviously a number of different types of markets within real estate. The luxury real estate market, what are you both seeing happening there? Are high-end properties still in high demand, or are the sellers coming from different types of markets?
I would say that the luxury market is thriving. It's shown substantial growth the first 3 quarters of this year. In Westchester, transactions over $2 million increased by 24% last quarter, while Putnam and Dutchess counties saw surges exceeding 30%. Also, the trend continues of luxury buyers wanting a home that is completely done. Our luxury clients say that they have money, but they don't have time. And so they don't want to have to live through or worry about a renovation. They want to move into something that is ready to go. Bring your bags and your toothbrush.
Hand me the key and I'm ready to move.
Exactly.
And where are you seeing these buyers coming from? Are you seeing trends as to where they're starting off and where they're ending up in this luxury real estate market?
We actually track where our buyers come from, and while we see a strong percentage always from New York City, it's a lot of trade up, trade downs within the same communities. So that's what we see.
And what about demographics of your buyers? Either one of you. I mean, is it?
I think Liz would probably have more data in that sense.
Are you seeing, empty nesters?
It's
people starting out.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mixed bag of everything, because again, it's kind of like those that want to trade up to something bigger because they've just had their third child, or those who have just sent their last child off to college and want to stay in the same community because they love it, but they want something smaller. So we're seeing all demographics.
Very interesting and very healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Very healthy.
Yeah. I'll add that I think one of the things we advocated for was a transfer tax, where there's a lot of older homeowners who would like to downsize or move to assisted living and aren't able to because they can't afford it. And also I'm very interested in that silver tsunami where the baby boomers are expected to either downsize or pass away, and that should create more inventory. But then it's also a transfer of wealth, and some of their children may not be selling the properties because they don't need to, so they're holding on to them.
Very, very interesting. I mean, we certainly are a community in transition and so diverse in every way, which is what I think makes Westchester and the Hudson Valley so very healthy. But there's a lot happening in the world right now. And are you seeing any of the external factors on a global scale, or we'll talk about the election after, but on a national scale, state, local, are these affecting the market? I mean, COVID, I guess, was the big one, right?
COVID was definitely the big one. I would say interest rates. If we see some more potential rate cuts by the Fed, that will certainly allow those trade buyers to finally, get off the fence. We see many would-be sellers that are sitting on the sidelines because they're sitting on a 3% mortgage. I don't think they'll ever go down to 2 or 3% again. We won't see that for a while. But I think if it loosens up and they get down in the mid fives, I think we'd see a lot more activity start up again.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. As far as global buyers, I think New York City is definitely a mecca for global buyers. And we do see that also. Your program a few weeks ago was great with the foreign headquarters that are in Westchester. So there are a lot of those workers for foreign corporations who do purchase and lease in Westchester.
I know in my neighborhood we have many families who are here working for German companies, and their children go to the German school, and so we have a very multilingual community. But it's always wonderful to meet people who are coming here for a few years, who want their children to experience living here and have the education that will keep them going, so that when they go back home, they can be up to date with their schooling. And
Absolutely.
there are many examples. French
Yes.
school and others, Japanese school and others.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
You mentioned the interest rates. You mentioned a couple of the other external factors. We're nearing another election cycle. That's not a surprise or news to anybody, but that tends to shake things up. How might the upcoming election impact real estate market activity? And I'm sure that's quite a very broad question, but just a few insights would be great.
I would say elections typically cause a temporary pause in the market, kind of people take a let's wait and see approach. Post-election, we may see a surge in activity, delayed decisions being made, fueled by maybe a renewed confidence in what's going on, or a clarity in moving forward. But it's always a crapshoot.
Very simply put, but probably the best explanation.
Well, yeah, and I think the election won't change market fundamentals like lack of inventory and things like that. So I think it's probably a temporary impact, but in general, we just need more inventory.
Very important. And what about, you mentioned earlier the effect of New York City. Are there notable trends in New York City that are spilling over into the Westchester market?
I think suburban living just continues to, appeal to people that are in New York City. New York City has been a key source for Westchester County for buyers coming up. That hybrid work model remains prevalent, and so there continues to be, demand for properties that have all of the amenities. During COVID, it was every house that had a pool was snatched up immediately, and families saw the need to have amenities, and that hasn't gone away. That's just, it's remained. I think with COVID still fresh in everybody's minds, people still crave those amenities, so they're all still really important to today's buyers. There's been a rise in vacant office space, and so some companies have reassessed their spacing needs, and I think that has sort of prompted employees to seek homes maybe closer to their workplaces again. Remember, during COVID, people didn't care about being near a train line because they were all of a sudden going to be 100% remote. And now that people are back in their offices, in some cases full-time again, 5 days a week, they may have had to, change their needs.
Yeah, we met recently with the leadership of Metro North, and I know ridership is back to over 80%. Still slower on Mondays and Fridays, but Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is way up there.
It's nice to see those parking lots filled
yes,
again.
I agree. And are you seeing the New York City effect?
I think generally I've seen that. I've only been here a year, but definitely we have some remote work available for our staff in particular. And I think also one thing that I think you would hear, because I'm from Miami and I worked for the Miami Association of Realtors for a long time, and part of the pandemic was the whole migration out of New York and New York City. And I wonder, like, how bad was it before? Because there's just no inventory, and I think people are gravitating towards Westchester and the Hudson Valley. So, and then I read an article this morning about people like reverse migration back from the Southeast and from Florida. So I think this is just an area that will always be in demand.
Yeah, including second home markets. So it's not just those that want to flee the city permanently, but some of our market area, particularly Dutchess County and Columbia counties of New York, are really appealing for a second home market because they can drive up there with their kids. It's an hour and a half to 2 hours drive. It's not too far, and they can, the average price there or median price there is a lot lower than it is in Westchester County.
Yeah, that's a really interesting trend.
Yeah, you need that room to stretch your legs. I know a number of people that just ended up moving and buying second homes in Tuxedo Park for exactly that reason.
Yep.
They were there in about 90 minutes, 2 hours. They could leave at 3 o'clock on a Friday and still be home by Sunday at 8 and start their workday on Monday.
Exactly.
So, very interesting. Very recently in the news, there's been the information about the National Association of Realtors settlement. What impact do you think this will have on the overall real estate landscape?
I don't think it will impact the real estate market as far as market fundamentals. I think in general, the two things that really the consumer may not necessarily see are the fact that you can no longer document cooperative compensation in the multiple listing service, and that you must have a written buyer agreement if you're working with a buyer, and there's certain criteria that must be included. I think Liz will have more information, but I think from my perspective, as far as impacting the market or impacting prices, that's not expected to happen, and I've not heard that it is impacting the real estate market itself.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that the great thing about real estate is that it is driven by life events, and so people will always be getting married or getting divorced and having children and growing their families or downsizing as kids grow up and move out, and so there's always a need for somebody to buy and sell, and so I don't see that those changes are certainly not going to affect the market.
And speaking of trade organizations and people representing such important professionals as realtors, I know the great work Hagar does, Lynda, in playing such a crucial role in serving your members. So we thank you so much. And
Thank you.
Liz, Houlihan Lawrence is known for excellence in real estate and in meeting the needs of buyers and sellers. And you are a real significant employer throughout the Hudson Valley and beyond. And we thank you for your level of integrity and all you do.
Thank you. This is fun. We always love talking about real estate, don't we?
Yes.
So thank you. And I think what's trending in real estate will have to be an annual discussion, Amanda DePalma.
Absolutely. I can't imagine it doesn't change on a month-by-month
I was
basis,
just
but we
gonna
only have so
say.
many episode slots.
Right.
So we'll definitely do at least 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah, it's the backbone of the economy, real estate, and so important and fuels so much of our economy. So I think that's a great idea. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you both for joining us today and being part of this What's Trending conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you again to our sponsor, Thompson & Bender, and our listeners. Great to have you, Lynda and Liz.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Marsha.
Be sure to check out the BCW Podcast Network's expansive lineup of shows: Leadership Unleashed, Advocacy Unplugged, Member Spotlight, Win, the Innovation Roundtable, and Talent Trailblazers. Stay tuned for our next episode of What's Trending, premiering next month. The Business Council of Westchester is the county's largest business membership organization focusing on economic development and advocacy. With over 1,100 members, it is our mission to work for the profitability of our members and prosperity of the Westchester community. To learn more about the Business Council of Westchester, please go to thebcw.org.